My name is Chris Khoury. I'm a retired psychiatrist, physician. As far as my involvement with the Conservancy, I've been on the Conservancy board for many, many years, and I now serve as chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee of the River Park and sit on the JPA, the Joint Powers Authority Board. I'm one of many, many, many community volunteers that have been intrigued by this wonderful vision of preserving an entire river valley and having it connected with the wonderful idea of the Coast to Crest Trail. It's been a project that's been going on for about 50 years. We're making great progress and getting close to the full fruition. So it's wonderful to be able to share it tonight with many friends and hopefully a lot of new people too may not be fully aware of what a wonderful effort that has been within the community.
We're starting right on time at 7 o'clock. Thank you guys for coming out of your comfy, cozy homes. I know it's a little wet, a little cold. We're happy to have you guys here tonight to hear Chris. There's a lot of things to talk about the Conservancy and the River Park. A lot to appreciate of this river valley. Especially the collective community work that has happened over the last few decades to get us to where we are today. I'm Cheryl Goddard. I'm the Executive Director for the San Dieguito River Valley Conservancy. And again, happy to have you guys here. I would like to do a special thanks to Gabrielle Weinhausen, Karen Cersei, and then Kim Yates in the back. They have been working hard to spearhead the speaker series, Connecting Creatures, Climate, and Communities. Also, thank you to Chris, who is kicking off this series. It's a 5-part series, so we hope to see you again for some of these future speaking events. I am really excited for this year. So I am happy to talk about some of our new programs. This is one of them. We also have one if you have kids or grandkids who are also curious about the river park. We have a Creekside Critters program where it's a hands-on experience. We bring the critters to the kids. We've started off late last year, and it's the first Saturday of every month. That's been pretty successful. We have the next one coming up this Saturday over at the Birdwing with the San Diego tracking team. So that's new to us. We have a natural impressions program where we'll be bringing arts back to the outdoors. And we also have a second yoga session that we've been adding to the Birdwing, which will be a sculpt yoga, a little bit more intense than our family-friendly one. So now we have sculpt the first Sunday and the family-friendly yoga the third Sunday of the month. So a lot of exciting new things. They complement some of our popular programs that we have. We have the Exploring Sense of Place. If you haven't heard about that, it's very popular. There's a waiting list to get on. People go to the various sections of the watershed and you get to hear experts. Chris Khoury is one of them. We have others who do birding and geology and just some of the water resources of the area. There's a wait list now, so if you want to get on that, check out our website and you can get on the waiting list. We also have our Watershed Explorers focused on kids and also taking them out throughout the watershed. We've got our walk and talks monthly throughout the watershed to take you to different segments of the Coast to Crest trails. We have Coast to Crest Trail challenges. You can come with us on the walk and talks, or you can do it on your own. And we also have volunteer opportunities, really to get you out and help us with the stewardship of the land. So we are very committed to finding engaging and meaningful experiences for everybody to come out to the river park to enjoy. Please check out our events webpage. It's updated regularly, and that's where you'll find some of these programs and events. And before we get Chris up here, I do want to introduce Gabrielle Weinhausen. She plays such an important role in to getting this program here today. So we want to welcome her up here. Gabrielle is a board member. She is also the chair of the Education and Outreach Committee. Thank you. Thank you very much,
Cheryl. And as Cheryl said, I'm very happy to welcome you today to this. It's a launch of a new series, the Connecting Creatures, Climate and Communities speaker series. And I would like to tell you a little bit, very briefly, what the essence of this speaker series will be. So first of all, it's every first Wednesday, and it will tell the story of the San Dieguito watershed through presentations by local experts in the field of science, conservation, and government. And topics will include the watershed's history, geology, hydrology, flora and fauna, water quality and habitat, as well as conservation and restoration. And our goal is to get all of us who are living in the communities surrounding the watershed to be mindful of the human and natural connections that interlink this water system, to think of the watershed as our address, and to inspire us to become stewards and partners, passionately protecting this ecological jewel. And we have planned 5 presentations, except for the April one. They will all take place here in this beautiful Del Mar Town Hall. And you got to know the routine. We get together at 6:30 for little snibbles, so snacks and nibbles, and talking to each other. And then at 7, we become serious with the presentation. From 7 to 8, we have a presentation and then Q&A, including Q&A. And I want to make sure that you all stay really excited about the future. In February, we have Professor Telly from the University of San Diego. He will introduce us to the killifish. How many of you have heard about the killifish? See? 1, all right. And just that you know, the killifish is a key indicator of successful salt marsh restoration. So it behooves us well to know about the killifish. In March, we have Serge Medina, leader of the international team at Wild Coast, discuss rewilding our coast with blue carbon-based solutions. And in April, we will be in the Santa Isabel Nature Center, and Mike Thatcher will present and guide a hike exploring the formative years of San Diego County's geology. And we will close the 24 series with a presentation by Professor Josh Cohn from UC San Diego, and he will discuss the havoc wreaked on San Diego's plant life by honeybees. In future years, so this is really the beginning of a year-long speaker series. So in the future, we will also include and expand our list to include artists and authors and community activists. So if you are not yet excited about what's ahead, Chris Khoury will change this, but you still have to wait because he also needs to be introduced. And the introduction will be done by Karen Sirti, one of the coordinators of this series.
Well, I'm very pleased tonight to be able to introduce Chris Khoury. I've heard him speak all in Khoury. Chris had a private practice in Encinitas in adult psychiatry, but he retired to help us all out in the Conservancy and other conservation things in about 2020, very recently. But he's had a very long-standing love and appreciation for the San Diego environment and the San Dieguito River Park in particular. He's started his docent training for the San Dieguito River Park in 1994, and he has been on the board of directors for the San Dieguito River Valley Conservancy since 1997. During that time, he was president for a couple of years, and he was also chair of the acquisition department. And that is, we talked about Santa Isabel. He was on the chair when the Conservancy acquired the Santa Isabel East and West Preserves, and importantly, the parcel on Vulcan Mountain, which is the terminus of the Coast to Crest Trail, and several others. In 2002, he was a movie star, and he was a guide to the Del Mar TV Foundation, A Walk in the Park, which apparently has a certain underground late night people watching it. His wife, Linda Khoury, he initiated the program Exploring Our Sense of Place, which Gabrielle and Cheryl both referred to, and I took it, and I highly recommend it. He's been awarded, in 2013, he was awarded the San Dieguito River Conservancy Award for his lifetime achievement, 20 years of conservation activities. Currently, he is the chair of the Citizens Advisory Committee to River Park, and he's now sitting on the JPA, Joint Park Powers Authority Board of Directors. So he's been very heavily involved in conservation in this area. And when we were thinking of speakers to start this series, Chris's name came right to the fore because he's been so involved in conservation in this area. So without further ado, Chris.
Thank you, Karen. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, when Linda, my wife, and I were brainstorming about the title of the presentation tonight, after some time I said, well, how about the allure of the San Dieguito River Valley? Linda paused and then said, you know, I like that. That's sexy, but not too sexy. So as I was reflecting about how to describe the allure, I decided to do that in very personal terms. What has been my allure? What has drawn me to this magnificent project been going on for decades? And certainly part of it is not only some of the intriguing features that I'll share with you tonight, but that it is a decades-long community effort that has involved literally hundreds of volunteers in making this wonderful vision become a reality. So just reiterate a few details. I've always had an appreciation for nature, and I credit my mother for helping develop that. And I have tried to impart that to my children and grandchildren. I've also had, kind of a sense of awe and deep appreciation, which I imagine most people here have experienced at times too. One very memorable example of that, I was an 8-year-old boy growing up in Oklahoma. We had the good fortune of being able to go on family vacations, and I remember piling out of the car with my 2 older brothers at Tunnel View in Yosemite. Of course, had no idea what to expect. Stepped out there, saw Yosemite Valley, El Capitan on the left, Half Dome in the distance, waterfalls, and I burst into tears. I just could not believe how incredibly beautiful it was. And I think we all can relate to those really intense experiences of beauty with magnificent vistas, the majesty of forests, power of storms, starlit nights, encounters with wildlife. And having the river park available to so many people locally, affords those experiences. One of the very important bonds between Linda and me has been our mutual appreciation for nature. And when we moved from Denver to Escondido in 1979, we were very excited to explore the new area in San Diego County and really, really enjoyed that. But it really wasn't until 1994 that Mike Thacker and I went through the initial docent training of the river park, and I learned a lot more about what an incredible area we live in. The more you know about something, the more you appreciate it, the more you love it, and the more you may want to step up to the plate and do what you can to help protect it. So following that, I was kind of sniffing around a little bit with the Conservancy, wondering if it was an organization that I'd want to get involved in. And I was very impressed with the founding generation of the Conservancy and how wonderful, devoted folks were in, trying to preserve this open space corridor. Led me to realize one of the really nice things about volunteering is the wonderful friendships that evolve over many, many years. Many of you are here tonight. I also was very careful. I did not want to waste my volunteer time on a project that I did not feel was going to accomplish something. So back in 1996, I was very impressed with how much the Conservancy had already accomplished. But as I got to know things more fully, I was also very much aware of how much additional work needed to be done. So consequently, I joined the Conservancy Board in 1996. I've been on the board, either active or advisory board since then. Linda and I established the Exploring Sense of Place program in 2007, this year-long program. In fact, everybody who's an alumnus, please raise their hand. All right, so it's been wonderful for us to see the program continue. It's now in the 16th year and get better and better through the contributions of so many volunteers. And as Karen mentioned, more recently, I'm chair of the Citizen Advisory Committee and sit on the JPA board in the last couple of years. I also just wanted to mention financial support. That is a way to support the missions of the Conservancy and the River Park, available to everybody in whatever capacity one is comfortable with. In 2010, it was calculated that the Conservancy and the River Park had obtained $160 million worth of grants. And I'm sure, fast forward to now, that amount is well in excess of $200 million. And that has been possible through the seed money available, making these two organizations very vital. Just think of how much your contribution is multiplied many times forward. Well, what is it about the San Dieguito River Valley? Pam Slater Price, former supervisor, loved referring to the River Park as the Yosemite of San Diego County. And, I think she was on to something. Now, it's true that we don't have glacier-carved valleys. We don't have 3 of the highest waterfalls in the world. But we have 2 things that Yosemite doesn't have. One, it's close to us in San Diego County. It's accessible to everybody, particularly the long 55-mile length. Also, it's an entire river valley system. So let me quote from an Insight article in the Union Tribune in 2001. The San Dieguito River Valley's 55-mile length is large and varied enough to capture the sense of a half of a continent. Yet the river valley is small enough to be envisioned as a cohesive whole in a way that larger river systems cannot. Now, when you get to be my age, you can quote yourself. This is an article that I wrote for the Union Tribune back then. I also wanted to point out Phil Pride's wonderful reference book, San Diego Introduction to the Region, 5th edition. Phil, unfortunately, is unable to attend tonight. But if anybody's looking for a really good resource book, this is the one we've used since the inception of ESP, and I would very highly recommend it. Well, here is a map of San Diego County showing the 11 watersheds east of the San Felipe watershed and the Great Western Divide in the white to the right. You see the San Dieguito in the middle, 346 square miles. One kind of, if you look at the very tip of the brown San Dieguito, there's actually a border of 3 watersheds. San Dieguito, San Diego, and San Felipe. That's at Kanaka Flats and the Santa Isabel East Preserve. Kind of neat that there are 3 watersheds intersecting at that point. To the right, the San Felipe watershed flows ultimately into the Salton Sea. Thousands of years ago would have flowed into a huge freshwater lake, Lake Khoury. It's bigger than Lake Tahoe and flowed into the Gulf of California. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about the Conservancy and the River Park. The Conservancy was established in 1986. But its roots really go back to the 1970s, where a group of concerned citizens from Del Mar and Solana Beach got together because they were very concerned about a plan to dredge the San Dieguito Lagoon and make it into a huge commercial marina. And 2 of those people are here tonight. I want to recognize the mother of the Conservancy, although she hates this term, Karen Berger. Can you please stand up, Karen? And Eric Lodge. And Eric Lodge was also a member of that very early group. Eric, can you stand up too? So these were 2 of a number of the early supporters that were real inspiration to me. Besides preventing the development of the lagoon, they were very instrumental in getting San Onofre to mitigate for their damage the San Dieguito Lagoon Restoration Project. And that's been ongoing for many years. And long time project, but it's progressing quite well. But the Conservancy itself was established in 1986 with this incredible vision that we don't have to stop at the lagoon to preserve open space. Let's go all the way to the Great Western Divide north of Julian. And they realized that much of that land was undeveloped. So it provided a great opportunity to protect open space, but there was a great opportunity for that to be developed too. And the Conservancy stepped up to the plate, and it's been quite remarkable what has been accomplished. The Conservancy is governed by an all-volunteer board. So can all the active board members of the Conservancy stand up that are here tonight? Great. And the advisory board members? You don't have to stand up. Okay, great. And former board members. So, all right. Also want to again recognize Cheryl Goddard, the Conservancy's Dynamite Executive Director, and Joseph Rivera, Resource Manager. Kim, I think your title encompasses too many things for me to enumerate. So thank you. It's been wonderful working with such a wonderful staff. I think one of the biggest accomplishments of the Conservancy in those early years was advocating for the establishment of the river park itself. And that occurred 3 years later in 1989. So the river park is missioned to actually managing the river park, and their mission has expanded as opportunities developed. So the river park now has 8 rangers as well as a lot of other staff members. It is governed by the Joint Powers Authority Board, JPA Board, which is comprised of elected officials of the various political entities that have land use authority over the course of the river park, and the representative, the Citizen Advisory Chair. This has been a remarkable collaboration between a private nonprofit and a governmental entity. So for example, the Conservancy has been able to provide matching funds for many very important grants the river park received for land acquisition, trail development, habitat management, continue to work very closely on a great variety of educational programs, and that's in addition to the work the Conservancy has done in its own land acquisition efforts. More about that in a minute. So here is a map. The blue indicates the boundary of the watershed. The red, the focus planning area. The focus planning area is basically the viewshed from the San Dieguito River and its major tributaries. And it's a planning tool. A lot of people kind of mistakenly presume that it's the ultimate boundary of the river park. That's not quite right, because a lot of the area towards the coast is already developed. But let me share with you, this is one of my favorite slides. Every solid color indicates land that is in some form of public ownership. So the green indicates lands protected before year 2000, and the blue indicates lands that are protected since then. And fortunately, this slide is a little bit out of date. There's been a lot more acquisitions in the Falcon Mountain area. 8,000 out of the original 9,000 acres of the Rutherford Ranch is now in protected status. The county has acquired the land between the, unfortunately my pointer, I have no way to point to this, but the Santa Isabel East and West preserves are now connected, and the Coast to Crest Trail will go through that. If you look at Lake Hodges, there's white space to the west. Those are now owned by the Conservancy, and there's another large acquisition that will hopefully be finished within the next month or two. So you can see about 65,000 acres or so in the focus planning area is now protected. The stippled green in kind of the center represents the 22,000 acre Rancho Guajito, which is primarily undeveloped, beautiful land. It was slated to become a state park in 1970, but unfortunately the financing fell through at the last minute. But my hope is that at some point, much of that will be incorporated into the river park. So here depicts the Coast to Crest Trail. The river valley, 55 miles, Coast to Crest Trail, though 70 miles because it meanders a little bit. So starting on the right side, east, you can see that the focus planning area in the green actually extends a bit into Anza-Borrego State Park. And the ultimate goal is that the Coast to Crest Trail will then proceed all the way to the Pacific Crest Trail. So for those here who are into long hikes, you can start at the Coast to Crest to Pacific Crest Trail, right Mexico, left Canada. So a lot of opportunity for hiking out there. I mentioned the collaboration between the Conservancy and the river park. There was an incredible campaign. Many of you are aware of raising $2 million last year in 6 months to complete the Fill the Gap campaign. So you can see Lake Sutherland there. There's a gap 8 miles to Highway 79. That gap is going to be filled, as well as the one in Clevenger Canyon. We'll have some photos there in a minute. But it's the fundraising allows for all the funding for planning and permitting, as well as having matching funds to get additional grants for the actual trail construction, which are very optimistic we'll be able to get when we're at that stage. So we're often asked, when is the Coast to Crest Trail going to be completed? I'd estimate 3 to 4 years. But let me just mention that my son, who is a philosopher, has accurately pointed out that I suffer from something he calls an optimism bias. So whether it happens or not, we'll see. But it's going to happen. Closer to Del Mar, a lot of really neat development going on. Just to the right, out the picture is where the Osuna Bridge will be constructed over the San Dieguito River, just downstream from Whispering Palms. In the Polo Fields area, fortunately, the Costa Crest Trail is going to be constructed there as the terms for the lease call for. After years and years and years of procrastination, that segment is finally going to get completed. Then you can see El Camino Real. New bridge will be completed there, and will have a trail passage for the Costa Crest Trail underneath the bridge. And then proceeding to Jimmy Durante Boulevard, number of really exciting projects. Some of you may have seen the really neat gateway designed by James Hubble at Vulcan Mountain. The family is designing a similar gateway, kind of bookend gateway, that will be on the south side of the Del Mar Fairgrounds. When the railroad bridge is constructed, it'll be raised, and there'll be a magnificent view of the outlet of the river from that spot. On the south side of the San Dieguito Lagoon, as the railroad bridge is redesigned and completed, there'll be an additional Costa Crest Trail pathway underneath the bridge, so people won't need to illegally cross the railroad. And of course, many of you are aware of the Del Mar River Path, the new trail that connects the Grand Avenue viewpoint with the Crest Canyon trail system. So a lot of neat things in the Del Mar area. Well, what is it that I find alluring? I think being out in nature, it really draws me into the present moment is one of the things that I really enjoy. But in addition to that, having greater appreciation for some of the other details adds a great deal for me. The geological processes in deep time, Native American culture, past and present, plants and animals who share our home, and the opportunity to share these natural lands with others and to preserve them for future generations. So let me kind of review that in greater detail. First, by sharing some slides of places you may not have seen. This is from Ferguson Flat at the Great Western Divide, looking down about 2,500 feet into San Felipe Valley. The distant mountain to the left is Whale Peak. It actually has a very interesting remnant pinyon pine forest near the summit. To the left, outside you can't see, is the Salton Sea, but on most days you can see 30 miles to the Salton Sea and then on into Arizona. The views are absolutely incredible up there. Here is a picture that will be familiar to many. This is the biggest oak tree that I'm aware of in San Diego County, a magnificent valley live oak, over 300 years old probably, and it has become the site of our ESP participant photo. So you can see a lot of happy faces, including some people who are here tonight when this was taken a few years ago. In fact, I think it was on your 60th birthday, wasn't it, Debbie? Yes, when you had a serenade from your wonderful husband at that site. This is one of the beautiful areas of cascading waterfalls that is not yet available to the public because it's in one of those gaps. But this is be right next to the future Costa Crest Trail, and it's actually on land owned by the River Park now. But there is incredible areas of cascading, granite gorged, carved gorges through there. Many people have not visited Lake Sutherland, which is a jewel. The Costa Crest Trail will go on the far side of the dam. You can see to the left. Corral Mountain is the mountain above, of which Conservancy was able to purchase 240 acres, and that will be forever protected as open space. Here is a picture from the Clevenger Canyon South Trail from another ESP group. You see San Pasqual Valley in the background. This trail is wonderful, as is the Clevenger Canyon North Trail. And Clevenger Canyon is that 5-mile segment that has pretty rough terrain to put a trail through, but we're going to do it, and there's no problems at all with easements through there. Here's a picture of Bernardo Mountain Summit of Lake Hodges when it was full. Doesn't look that way now, but hopefully it will be when the new dam is constructed, maybe in 7 or 8 years. You can see the Dave Hodges pedestrian bridge that kind of has a very graceful slope to it, just this side of Interstate 15.
Dave Kreitzer Bridge.
Didn't I say Dave? Dave Kreitzer, yeah. Did I say something different?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I won't ask. So a little bit about geology, and I won't take thunder from Mike's geology talk, because you need to hear this a number of times. But this is one of these fascinating stories that really gripped me when I first heard about it. And if you want to fool people, you can say, well, ask them what the largest river in San Diego County is. And it's the Ballena River. You wonder, what the heck is he talking about? It's true, but the Ballena River is a prehistoric river. The fascinating thing about rhyolite is it's a rock of volcanic origin that has a unique chemical structure depending on where it erupted. 19th century geologists knew this, so they were able to, they knew that the same rhyolite was found in Sonora, Mexico, inland and coastal San Diego County, and Santa Cruz Island near Santa Barbara. And they were dumbfounded as to how that happened. Is the theory about rhyolite incorrect? This was used as one of the most persuasive elements of evidence to support plate tectonic theory. So let me go very briefly through this. And Mike, thank you for the slides. 150 million years ago, middle of the age of the dinosaurs, a series of volcanoes began to erupt in what's now mainland Mexico. 55 to 37 million years ago, the Ballena River forms. Probably had elevation of 7,000 to 8,000 feet at its source, and went 200 miles long, with some of the areas 2 miles wide. And it was subject to very strong seasonal flooding that distributed this unique rhyolite all along its 200-mile course. The river then stopped about 37 million years ago, but those cobbles continued, were already distributed. Then beginning 20 million years ago, the Pacific Plate rafting northward and beginning the process of tearing portions of the North American plate off, including fracturing the Ballena River. And here you see that process continuing. Finally, to when the San Andreas Fault formed 4 million years ago, fracturing the Ballena River even more. The San Andreas Fault, the Pacific Plate progresses northward at a rate of about 2 inches a year, the same as the growth of our fingernails. And here we are present day with the San Andreas Fault having torn Baja California and San Diego County from mainland Mexico. And you can see where the original source of the Ballena gravels remain in Sonora, Mexico. The areas north San Diego County, coastal San Diego, as well as Santa Cruz Island near Santa Barbara. So it's a pretty remarkable story. You have this all coming together perfectly, and it's been a real fascination for me. So Mike will give you a great detailed view of the geology of San Diego in his lecture. Another picture of the Ballena River Delta, and here you can see around Scripps Ranch evidence of the alluvial fan that is still obvious with satellite photographs. Changing gears, archaeology is another area that really fascinated me. Malcolm Rogers was initially an amateur archaeologist in Escondido who began digging what was called the Harris Archaeological Site in 1919. This is about 2 miles downstream from Lake Hodges Dam. You can't see it now because it's covered under 3 feet of sand, but future archaeologists may be interested in another excavation. And what really gripped me was that for decades it was considered one of the most significant sites in the Western Hemisphere because it documented 3 very distinctive Native American cultures. The oldest, the San Dieguito phase, beginning 12,000 years ago. I think that's 6,000 years before the pyramids started getting built. Characterized by very large projectiles that were on spears. They hunted the large megafauna, ground sloths, maybe woolly mammoths, saber-toothed tigers. The La Jolla phase, 8,000 years ago, called the La Jolla phase because they utilized the very rich marine resources that were available. Also, the La Jolla phase was the only one that had buried their dead. And in the burial sites in San Diego County, there is obsidian that is found in Tucson, Arizona. Correspondingly, some of the burial sites in Tucson area have shells from San Diego County. So, thousands of years ago, there was a rich trading circuit among the Native Americans. Then finally, the Kumeyaay phase, beginning about 2,000 years ago. It thrived with new technologies that came from the desert, including pottery, bows and arrows, and probably most significant, the ability to process acorns that allowed a very stable source of food. Population was estimated to be 40,000 when the Spanish came. Tragically reduced to 4,000 over the next 50 years. And that is similar to the declines in population most Native American groups experienced after contact with the Europeans. Here are some of the painted rocks on the Piedras Pintadas Trail. You can see one of the side trails in Rancho Bernardo. Botany. San Diego County is a biological diversity hotspot. It has the most plant species of any county in the United States. We have all these superlatives. And why is that? It's because of the very varied topography and rainfall differences. More than 2,000 species of plants in San Diego County. And why is that? Here's an interesting diagram. On the horizontal axis shows going from San Diego to Vulcan Mountain and to Borrego Springs, and then the vertical axis, an exaggerated elevation going up to 6,000 feet. So as you proceed inland and higher elevation, very different plant communities. Wanted to point out too, the gallery forest or the riparian habitats that have the magnificent coast live oak, sycamores, willows, cottonwoods. And then where it says pine forest, the Julian lagunas, Vulcan Mountain being a great example, you have these sky islands that have very unique, beautiful conifer forest, incense cedar, huge oak trees. Then as you proceed to desert scrub. This looks like a topographical map, but it's not. It's actually a map showing the average rainfall. So San Diego City Airport, 10 inches a year. Del Mar, about 12 inches. Lake Hodges, 16 inches. Ramona, 20 inches. And Vulcan Mountain, over 30 inches. And then you can see the tightly spaced lines showing the rain shadow on the east side of Vulcan Mountain. And then finally at Borrego Springs, rainfall of about 5 inches a year. So each area has its own very unique fauna and flora associated with it. And this shows that the rainfall in San Diego is both highly seasonal with our rainy and dry seasons, and also highly variable. Huge differences can occur year to year, as we've seen last year with the magnificent amount of rainfall, and we'll see what happens this year. So in terms of some of the incredible displays of flowers, Cindy, my daughter, and I in 2008 went and took these pictures. You see the Lake Hodges Dam and the charred chaparral on the other side of Lake Hodges. But incredible displays, the most brilliant displays of wildflowers in anybody's memory. The orange, primarily California poppies, the blue periphycilias and others. You know, last year was pretty great too, but still not quite as magnificent as back then. Okay, let me quote from the San Diego Audubon Society. San Diego County boasts the biggest bird list of any county or of any area of equal size in the U.S. Over 520 species across the county. Exclamation mark. I'm trying to portray the emotion that avid birders, many of here, feel. But it is an incredible area for birding, and I was very much drawn when I heard that Lake Hodges is recognized as a globally important birding area. Okay, can anybody identify these birds? Okay, Chris Gilbert, please stand up. Chris is a great amateur photographer. He and I have known each other for decades. He's also a cardiologist on the staff at Palomar. In fact, if my presentation tonight gets anybody overly excited, you start experiencing any palpitations or chest pain, Chris will evaluate you. But Chris took these photos not really knowing exactly at the time what was going on. It was just a flurry of activity with his rapid shutter camera. So look at this incredible series. This is at an undisclosed location in San Diego County. So here you see red-tailed hawk, which is a huge bird. You see off to the left approaching the bald eagle. And look at the bald eagle's face. You wonder, what is he thinking? The red-tailed hawk is getting closer and closer. And then at the last moment, the red-tailed hawk veers up above and then ends up clipping the wing of the bald eagle. So, incredible series of photographs. It reminds me of a very magical moment I had many years ago jogging the Close to Crest Trail on Bernardo Mountain. Late afternoon, the sun was back of me. I was casting a long shadow, and all of a sudden, a huge shadow completely obliterates me. And I look up thinking I see a plane. It wasn't. 2 feet above me, a golden eagle zoomed past me. And I went, what the heck is going on? And then I saw red-tailed hawk was harassing him. So, you know, another magical experience, and I'm sure a lot of other people have had these encounters of wildlife. The fact that the river park exists close to so many people allows these types of magical experiences to occur. I want to close with 2 quotes that have been very meaningful to me. Jonas Salk, incredible guy. He, by the way, was asked why he didn't patent the polio vaccine, and he would literally have been a billionaire. he said the vaccine does not belong to a person, it belongs to mankind. He said, we have no greater responsibility than to strive to become good ancestors. And I think every generation has the question to ask, you know, what tasks are before us to be a good ancestor? What can we contribute? So the final quote, Logan Jenkins, UT columnist, wrote in a Centennial Historical Review of San Diego County in the December 31st, 1999 issue of the Union Tribune. He first reviewed all the accomplishments, historical significant events in North County during that 100-year period. And then he speculated about the next 100 years. What would a journalist in the year 2099 be writing about North San Diego County? And Logan said, at the close of the next century, the San Dieguito River Park, an ambitious conservation project stretching from Del Mar to Vulcan Mountain, may be considered North County's noblest achievement. Our great-grandchildren will judge us for what we save, not what we sell. So, thank you, everybody, and thank you for being part of this wonderful effort.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I forgot. Please.
Has the River Valley ever received donations from the Nature Conservancy?
Yes. And the broad answer is yes. We have partnered with the Nature Conservancy in a number of very important projects. They have provided bridge funding for a number of land acquisitions that allowed us to then later acquire very important land. So, for example, the Santa Isabel East and West properties, these were incredible acquisitions that we partnered with the Nature Conservancy. They were delighted to work with us, the locally based organization. We took many people out there. We raised over $300,000 to contribute to the purchase. I got a call. I was president of the Conservancy at the time, Bill Leahy. He said, well, Chris, I got some good news for you. And I said, well, what's that? He says, well, we don't need your $300,000 anymore. We're going to get a grant from the state to cover the entire cost. And what do you think? Can you use it for anything? I said, well, let me think about it. I said, yes. So we used that for land acquisition, the Rutherford C parcel, as well as Corral Mountain. The Nature Conservancy also was instrumental in a lot of the land acquisitions in the Ramona Grasslands area. So they've been wonderful partners, as has Trust for Public Lands. Sure.
Any other questions? I've got a microphone.
No, I don't need a microphone. Neither you nor I can need a mic. What do you envision, Chris, as being in the future of a relationship of the River Park and the Conservancy and Indian tribes that hold land either adjacent to or across which the Coast to Crest Trail is going to have to traverse?
Yeah, okay, great question, Nate. I didn't point this out, but the only area for the whole Crest to Crest Trail that we have not nailed down an easement is between Lake Sutherland and Highway 79 that crosses over Mesa Grande Reservation property. We have been in contact with them primarily through the River Park for decades, and we have a very friendly relationship. As that segment of trail gets planned, Shauna Alexander and Jason Lopez from the River Park have gone out there scouting out the potential route for the Coast to Crest Trail, and we're very optimistic that they will grant us the easement without any issues, and they see the River Park as an asset for them. They have land that could be a really good site for camping as the Coast to Crest Trail becomes an international phenomenon. So, you know, we are doing everything we can to foster, you know, really good collaboration with them. So we are optimistic that that one last easement will be granted. Okay, I guess that's it. So thank you so much, everybody.
So I cannot express to you guys enough. My name is Kim, and all those emails that you get updating you on these events are from me. If you guys want to put a name to an email address, we really cannot express enough our heartfelt gratitude for each and every guest who graced us with your presence tonight. Connecting Creature, Climate, and Community Speaker Series this evening. We're really, really thrilled you guys all came out, traversed the rainy weather, and got to listen to Chris. For without this support, members like you, we wouldn't be able to host programs like this. So we really appreciate all of your guys' support coming out this evening. A special acknowledgement to our fabulous speaker, Chris, for his captivating discourse on the allure of the San Dieguito River Valley. And a profound thank you to our diligent education committee, especially Gabrielle Weinhausen and Karen Searcy for all of their time and energy orchestrating this series. As our evening draws to an end, we eagerly anticipate your presence at our next enlightening session featuring Dr. Drew Talley. It'll be right back here next month, the first Wednesday, right at 6:30. We'll have the same reception style, 30 minutes prior to the talk, and we will delve into the narrative of the unsung hero of California wetlands. Those are the California killifish. So until then, have a safe journey, warm regards. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free, I'll hang out afterwards. But thank you guys so, so much for joining us, and we hope to see you all next month.